guys, good morning. This is the third episode of Designing Aloud, and thank you for all the love that has been coming for us. This time we have Itika and Neel with us from Studio Carbon, and we are super excited to bring something new this time. And over to you, Krishna.
हेलो एवरीवन। अगर आप डिजाइन इंडस्ट्री में हैं और इंडिया में बेस्ड हैं तो आपने स्टूडियो कार्बन का नाम सुना ही होगा। वेरी हाई प्रोबेबिलिटी। स्टूडियो कार्बन एक ऐसा डिजाइन स्टूडियो है इंडिया में जो कई सारे प्रेस्टिजियस अवार्ड्स जैसे लेक्सस डिजाइन अवार्ड, गोल्डन पेन अवार्ड लगातार स्ट्रीक में जीतता है। के को फाउंडर्स नील और इतिका आज हमारे साथ है। तो ज्यादा टाइम न लेते हुए मैं नील और इतिका आपको चाहूंगा कि आप थोड़ा सा अपने बारे में इंट्रोडक्शन दे दो ताकि हमारे श्रोता, हमारे लिसनर्स जिनको आपके बारे में नहीं पता है वो आपके बारे में जान पाएंगे थोड़ा।
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. This is Neel here. I am co-founder of Studio Carbon, and I look after the business part of Studio Carbon in India and US, and also a team passionate person about human space flight. So, what design is doing human space flight? So that is my background. Ritika?
Hi everyone, my name is Itika, also a co-founder, where two of us are 2 out of 9 in all. Like Neil, I run the studio from the Netherlands, take care of business for us in Europe and Africa.
ये स्टूडियो बनने का आइडिया आया कहाँ से? कैसे शुरुआत हुई? थोड़ा उसके बारे में बैकग्राउंड।
यार बड़ी ड्रामेटिक स्टोरी होती कि हमने कहीं बैठ के कुछ पैक बनाया और बिगिनिंग में ही ड्रीम्स लेके आए थे तो ज्यादा अच्छी साउंड करती। But I think it was as iterative as design itself is. We were literally in the middle of class doing systems design projects in NID. Neil and two others who are now co-founders of the studio were working on the first ever space project in NID, or actually in the design community in India. Gonga, who's also another co-founder, and I were doing a project on a strange topic of quality of life and what does that mean. So very different, but very like spiritual and philosophical. And similarly, there was another team that was working on water, and all three of them from that team are also co-founders. So I think that whole time of spending 2 years in learning design and then it all culminating in these extremely deep, thoughtful ideas of systems thinking, systems design, how can macro, micro thinking really add value to the world is what we realized इसमें। और एक दिन चाय पे बैठे बैठे हमने बोला अगर कभी कंपनी होती तो नाम क्या होता। 1.5 घंटे बाद स्टूडियो कार्बन नाम आ चुका था। एक दिन बाद हम पूरे बैच को लेके बैठे हुए थे विद अ पोस्टर, यू मस्ट हैव सीन दैट वीडियो, और फर्स्ट सेइंग अगर स्टूडियो होगा तो क्या होगा, हम क्यों करना चाहते हैं। एंड देन while we were studying we made it a rule कि जो इंटरेस्टेड है स्टूडियो में हर रोज हम 1 घंटा मिलेंगे। और करते 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 हम 9 लोग रह गए। एंड देन वी सेड 1 साल चला के देखते हैं कैसा चलेगा। 1 साल हुआ, अगले साल फिर यही बोला, अगले साल फिर यही बोला, अभी 5 साल हो गए।
Actually, कितना सही है ना कि मतलब 9 लोग, that is also something big कि हाँ 9 लोग regularly आ रहे थे।
जी, आप बात करते हो तब सिस्टम थिंकिंग के बारे में। बहुत सारे हमारे सिस्टम डिजाइन क्या होता है पता नहीं। तो सिस्टम डिजाइन क्या है आप एक बार बता सकते हो और इसका रिलेशन आपके स्टूडियो के साथ कैसे रहा? मतलब ये स्टूडियो ही खोलने की आप तो काम नहीं कर सकते थे कहीं और जाके, या खुद का ही कंसल्टेंसी खोल सकते थे 9 लोगों के साथ में।
I want Neil to answer that first.
So mainly reason ये था कि प्रोजेक्ट्स जो हमें करने थे वो प्रोजेक्ट्स आर नॉट गिविंग दैट एनीवन कैन गिव अस। जैसे मुझे स्पेस में करना था, आउटर स्पेस, सो ऐसा था नहीं कि कंपनी में जाऊंगा मुझे आउटर स्पेस का प्रोजेक्ट दे देगी। सिमिलरली क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ इज एन एब्स्ट्रैक्ट टॉपिक वेयर इफ यू गो टू एनी कंपनी तो वो नहीं हाँ पे क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ पे तो पूरा काम चालू करूंगा। But we had a strong vision ki what this projects can bring or what is the value of this project and what is the utility in future as well. And we could see things evolving around. Then we said कि अब project करना ही है GP में तो क्या तुम self what is it called? Self-sponsored करो या तो फिर company sponsor करेगी।
GP माने graduation project।
Graduation project में तुम self-sponsor करो या फिर company sponsor करेगी। हमने बोला कि हम खुद का company खोलते हैं। कंपनी स्पॉन्सर की कंपनी का भी पब्लिसिटी हो जाता है हम ग्रेजुएट हो गए उसका।
Good start.
So उस हिसाब से we started the whole thing and that was the main reason we wanted to do something that was very unique, which no one was doing in India at that point, and even right now there are very few of them who are doing it actually. Even human spaceflight अभी NNE ने एक MOU साइन करा है शायद से human spaceflight सेंटर के साथ. That is after 5 years.
Okay.
Still and अब धीरे धीरे इसरो लेके जा रहे हैं NNE graduates को for इसरो में as a internship के लिए. 5 साल हो गए और अभी बस इतना हुआ है और डिजाइन स्टूडियोज है नहीं जो स्पेस में काम कर रहे हैं. सिमिलरली क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ में भी हम लोगों ने काफी सारा एजुकेशन पे डिफरेंट डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स ब्रांडिंग है ये है उस पे भी हम बीन एबल टू
And just building on this, I think हम लोग यार the way we studied and especially with how much we were able to get in systems design, we were unemployable. Like Neil said, there was no company where we could pitch this and they would understand what we're trying to do or what can come out of it. So we realized that we really want autonomy like we had in our 2 years. And we produced great work. These guys were in the news. We went, presented all of our project at RSD in Torino 1 year later. So there was a lot of value, but it was not value that was tangible for a company to say you could do this. So I think that autonomy was a very important reason for us to say we can do it as a studio. So अपन लोग try करते हैं and we'll see what happens. दूसरा question तेरा of 9 लोग, it sounds very nice. A couple of years down the line, there'll probably be these case studies saying 2 लोग या 1 लोग नहीं leadership बनाते पर 9 से बन सकती है. But it's not easy, of course. As designers, one thing we identified very early on was there was a lot of room for collaboration.
Yeah.
And that line that if you really want to go far, you go far together, is very, very true. Because each of us, I think one beauty of our studio versus a lot of other people who've tried starting studios after college, the difference is the 9 of us come from very, very different experiences, backgrounds, and expertise, even though we all studied industrial design. तो उसकी वजह से there was always one person filling the gap of somebody else. And we didn't lack in business, we didn't lack in strategy, we didn't lack in depth of thinking, we didn't lack in execution of skill. तो जब सब कुछ ही था, it just started becoming very apparent that things are better. And yeah, like radical transparency of communication is critical. It's not like we don't disagree. It's not like we don't have tough times, but the fact that everything's in the best interest of the studio really kind of keeps the 9 of us from killing each other. Yeah.
बहुत पेशेंस चाहिए होता है.
For sure.
I have another question. तो NIT में जब हम होते हैं मतलब जैसे अभी हमें लगता है यार हम लोग दुनिया बदल देंगे. Like we will do a great bring some changes and you were telling me about some projects where you are working for children in Ghana and so how do you think as designers you are changing the world but okay what if Studio Carbon is not in the picture, how about you as an individual designer
changing the world?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
Yeah.
individual for me it is very simple. For me, I want to design in the places where it is not there. For me, it is always experience में हम क्या कर सकते हैं. So designing you must face design, legal design. Yes, how do you introduce design in legal sectors? How do you introduce design in defense area? That is where probably if Studio Carbon was not there. Even right now, I'm doing the same thing, so it does not matter for me. See, है कि नहीं है. मतलब अभी भी मेरा वही situation कि कहाँ पे डिजाइन नहीं किया वहाँ पे हम लोग इंटरव्यू कर रहे हैं.
And how do you convince stakeholders to become a part of your process?
That is a long journey. The thing is, you don't have to convince them. Like if you're able to show a value as to what you are able to bring in, that is job half done. And for you to bring in the value, you need to know what you're giving to them. Like क्या निकालना है that comes secondary, but क्या दे सकते हैं वो important है. वैसे कि legal design में lot of designers don't even read legal documents. We usually run away from it. But as designers, we have power to do good storytelling and do good visualizations. So how can we make legal documents much more language agnostic? To visually बनाओ pictogram की तरह, images की तरह. That makes everyone understand it. It does not matter whether language is not an issue or your sense does. You're automatically bringing, you're scaling up that whole thing.
Yeah, even I don't read anything. It's a legal agreement.
I was just yes.
मेरे रेंट अग्रीमेंट में मुझे पता नहीं है एंड देन देयर वाज समहाउ रिटन के इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बिल ना तुम मतलब इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का कुछ भी खराब हो तो तुमको देना है एंड प्लम्बिंग इज नॉट इंक्लूडेड सो वी वर गेटिंग दिस plumbing also fixed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was not even in our schools. तो
Yeah.
पढ़ा ही नहीं ना मैंने कौन पढ़ता है?
Exactly.
So that is what a big opportunity is. And as designers, we Stanford and legal design का department established in 2012 में. That means it is a very beautiful environment. It has got a room of doors and everything, but and that is what I keep doing. कि कहाँ पे हम नया चीजें introduce कर सकते हैं, what we can do in a better manner. So yeah.
And yeah, I mean, see, I don't think we can answer this question where how it would have been different if I was talking to about just myself, because I am the studio and the studio is new. So I don't think I can make that clarification as well. But for example, my engineering से जब shift हुई थी, I had worked for about 6 years before I took a sabbatical to come back to NIT, and then we ran the studio. That entire time, impact and traditional understanding of impact, improving lives, improving livelihood, employment, working on wicked problems was essentially my drive. And I had worked in sanitation waste, all of that. And I think through that experience, and then a lot more after, we studied at NIT, and then once we started running the studio, it came down to realizing that design में दो powers हैं, जो not sounding boastful since we're designers, which other professions do not have. First one, this pedagogy of thinking, of how designers think, and the other is the ability to. If you look at just systems thinking, it's all about making sense of the larger systems, how things talk and interact. You find an opportunity somewhere and then what, right? You say, okay, अगर poverty change करना है इंडिया में, तो ये जगह है जहाँ पे आपको intervene करना चाहिए. वो intervention क्या होगी? Somebody else takes that, right? Similarly, there are a lot of our very sort of skill-based vocations which work a lot on execution. Our engineers, some of the smartest people in our country, right? I mean, every single company that's being run around the world, the biggest ones are Indian CEOs and Indian engineers who've done great work. But they focus so much on what a technology can do, how things act, that there's a lack of thinking, which is why design thinking became such a big deal, right? So that ways, I think we bring a very interesting mix of both, which is why when I chose to get into design, it was for that reason to say that we have the ability to do both, and probably that's the deepest way you can make impact. And we're not even arrogant about it. We are these specialized generalists, working with doctors to working with MBA graduates to working with, like Neel said, lawyers, or with scientists who are working on the next human spaceflight in India. We can work with all of them because of this generalized nature of thinking and acting. I think that's the.
More or less.
You had a term for it. You were telling me you have a.
या वो एक अलग क्वेश्चन है, मैं उसके ऊपर आता हूँ.
I
लेकिन
think it will be relevant this time.
अच्छा, तो इंग्लिश में एक फ्रेज है जिसको बोलते हैं पंचिंग अबाउट द वेट.
Sorry.
पंचिंग अबाउट द वेट पता ही होगा आपको. मतलब
Okay.
आप उस चीज को एम करते हो जहाँ पे लोग आपको समझते हैं कि आप एक्सपेक्टेड नहीं हो वहाँ पे.
You guys are doing that.
Yeah.
Clearly
तो ये
evident.
कैसे समझता है कि अभी पंच अबाउट द वेट करने का मौका आ गया है, अभी लेवल अप करना है, और
वो पंच अबाउट द वेट करने की कोशिश नहीं कर रहे हैं. I think we're just trying to do what makes sense without being fearful of what is going to happen next, whether people will accept it or not. वो fear अलग रख के अगर हमें पता है जब इतना innately as a studio, I think ये हमारे DNA में है.
Yeah.
Like he said, right? Design is ubiquitous to sectors. Design, and there's a reason why all these conversations of design are now slowly building up. कि कहीं पे भी किसी के लिए भी it can add value. और अगर वैसी नेचर है तो कुछ नया करना, किसी अनवर्ड सेक्टर में जाना, कुछ over the obvious सोचना, ये तो करने के लिए हमें प्रोफेशन दिया
But
गया.
maybe in your scenario, something about the way can be you going to government of India and telling them that maybe आपका ये जो जैसे अभी मैंने देखा था नरेगा का मनरेगा का आया था कि लोग के साथ लाइक लोगों तक पहुंच ही नहीं रही है जो दिहाड़ी है वेजेस है एंड ऑल्सो उनका जो बोला गया है 300 350 उनको सिर्फ 100 150 मिल रहा है सो ओनली फॉर 10 days they are getting paid or 20 days so maybe you can just intervene and tell them that okay let us think on the systemic level and we can be your studio and let's find a solution to it so this will be punching over the ring.
I think so we're not scared to dream big at all. ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्या गिर जाएंगे फिर से चालू करेंगे ये बंद हो जाएगा कुछ नया मतलब there's nothing stopping us because I think as a vision we're all set to that idea of design being everywhere.
Yeah.
So, usme, for example, the project we did with IDEO, we landed up leading that entire project with the Rockefeller Foundation, right? And we were working on a food system for the whole world. Space में all this work that we were doing, he was the only designer at ISC in Paris last year talking about what design can do for space. So we're like, why hold back? If you're the only person in that room, very important. That's the only way we'll be able to do this. So I think being that only person in that room is maybe one of the matrices for us to know कि हाँ कोई अभी गया नहीं है और हमें पता है यहाँ value है तो जाओ.
So how do you like go to places like because as designers
How
we
do
always
you ask them? How do you search them, or how do you?
approach them, be there because as designers, like even in NID, some people are doing great work,
Yeah.
but उनको पता नहीं है कि कब हम इसके बारे में बात करें. जैसे मतलब कई लोगों के डिजाइन प्रोजेक्ट से इतने अच्छे होते हैं, but उनको डिजाइन प्रोजेक्ट बन के रह जाते हैं.
Right. So probably I'll take that question in two chunks. One is personal zeal or drive. In AD में हम जो projects करते हैं, if you take studio, जो हमने systems करा था, we wanted to take it ahead. We did not wanted to leave it at systems level. Like that was our personal driving motor. We did not wanted to just कि हाँ systems हो गया अब हम छोड़ सकते हैं. We did not want to do that. That is one important aspect where we are able to make sure that if we are getting into it, we see end to it, like be it either side. Either it will be successful, or it will be a failure. But we don't usually give up midway. Like there have been hardly one or two instances जहाँ पे हमने बोला कि because हाँ ये नहीं चलेगा, ये बीच में नहीं जाना पड़ेगा. And second is for people it is important कि like I will come back to this thing. What happens? And the second is usually what happens is that as designers we like to jump from one project to another project. So as soon as we start building our expertise, we are wowed by something new or exciting that is looking ahead from us, and then we jump to that area. And as soon as we're building our expertise, we just miss that opportunity to really building opportunities, how to talk, how to build that connects. Now, even if you take conferences and everything, like let's say some person is working on even पॉवर्टी पे काम कर रहा है, पॉलिसी पे काम कर रहा है, कोई डिजाइनर एनआईडी में ये सही चीज है. एटलीस्ट एक साल तो लगेगा. हाँ मिनिमम एक साल तो लगेगा टू क्या कहते हैं गेट आंसर्स अराउंड इट पॉलिसी में कि कहाँ पर है, कहीं पे अप्लाई भी करोगे. बट एक साल में बहुत सारी चीजें बदल भी जाती है. बट वी स्टिल स्टे स्टेन टू व्हाट वी हैव एनविजन आवर रिजल्ट्स टू बी एट द एंड ऑफ द स्टार्ट ऑफ फर्स्ट ईयर. So those things,
maybe consistency,
very important, and flexibility.
Yeah.
And flexibility, how things are changing, how they're evolving. Like probably whatever you have said as a solution is already there in one of the policy documents that came in. So how do you change your things? Like what will happen with NEP, National Education Policy.
Yeah.
It talks about design thinking. It talks about a lot of things that you want to do. So then if there's a policy that is already existing like this, how can we add value to it?
Yeah.
Then you start looking at those things, and then stakeholders के साथ बात करना चालू करो. Like that would be more or less.
Yeah, and I think also believing in yourself because you believe that you can contribute something, right? Like sometimes we already play an underdog, like we are like we underestimate ourselves only. कि इतना बड़ा तो हम नहीं कर पाएंगे. So
I think, yeah, so consistency is a very big word. Another thing that he's saying, right, as that whole going back to that idea of being specialized generalist, it's very important for you to constantly keep yourself educated with beyond design. Like in NID or in our education system of design, I've seen people be very averse and judgmental towards business.
Yeah.
Be very judgmental towards data and statistics. And now be very averse to having a conversation around AI, for example, right?
Yeah.
This is a baggage we're coming with. It's so ironic कि हम creativity की बात करते हैं और हमने creativity की definition को ही confine कर दिया है, right? So like he said, national education policy आई, हमें किसी ने बोला नहीं यार, हमने वो पॉलिसी डॉक्यूमेंट उठाया कितना 100-150 पेज का था कुछ तो, and we read through the whole thing and then that got our wheels turning. Like what can design do here? जब हम for example sanitation या this project we did on sewage, it's a what is it called, it legend systems that have not been changed for decades together.
Yeah.
Nothing told us to do that. We sat down, started studying microbes, started studying जमीन के नीचे क्या होता है, cities कैसे बनती है. एंड they're like hold on, हम कुछ कर सकते हैं क्या? बिकॉज आंसर तो है, हम हर जगह कुछ कर सकते हैं, तो उसके लिए हर जगह देखना तो पड़ेगा ना. So holding ourselves to a very refined idea of creativity, I think, is one of our limiting factors that we ourselves cage ourselves in, and not judging any other vocation, any other skill, any other education in a way where it's like नहीं नहीं उसको समझ नहीं आएगा मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ. Because तुम्हारी स्टोरी टेलिंग स्किल है, तुम्हारी एग्जीक्यूशन स्किल है, थिंकिंग स्किल है, तो बचा क्या? So every time, like for example, with the education project, the project it manifested into, for example, what we're doing with Agastya. Yeah. We landed up designing curriculum for a university. We're now doing a boot camp of leading design thinking for management and entrepreneur people. We're doing boot camp for businesses and an incubator. वो सब एक तरफ from the space of education ही आ रहा है, right? So I feel like opening yourself up to all of these different ways of thinking is very important. And I think as a studio, that's why, because we're 9 of us, our interests are also very different. And now with us being around 50, everyone has their own, like he has his own interest. When I sit with him to have a conversation, we could both disagree about his legendary book that I worship, and he's like, I don't like it. Which one? Winter Papanik. Design for a better world.
You don't like.
And just that whole disagreement itself shatters up so much of both our belief systems.
But maybe it's like you have to read before arguing, right? Like I have not read it. So, yeah.
You can not. You can simply read a review of a book. So you can listen. He does a lot of listening to books very nice.
Yeah.
Not all of us are like readers, right?
Yeah.
But we are seeking to learn.
But I think what I would want to put here is that we should know about something before talking about it.
Yeah.
Informed होना चाहिए. Yeah.
Alright.
Absolutely. और हमारे पास सही क्वेश्चन है पूछने के लिए. हम वही तो सीखते हैं डिजाइन में, how to ask the right question.
Yeah.
तो 5 क्वेश्चन में you get an overview of education that maybe another department will not.
Yeah.
तो बस उतना से तुम समझ गए, lead with curiosity and people will open up and you will be able to find an opportunity area to add value to what he was saying.
So I have another question.
इसको एक फॉलो अप क्वेश्चन है. अभी डिजाइनर की तरह सोच के डिजाइन थिंकिंग का यूज करके और मल्टीपल चीजों को पर्सपेक्टिव लेके हमने रिसर्च किया, उसके बाद में डिजाइन सोल्यूशन बनाया, कंसेप्ट को रिफाइन करके उसको रिजॉल्व करके एक प्रोडक्ट बनाया. अभी ये प्रोडक्ट जब हम दूसरों को पिच करते हैं या जो भी रेलेवेंट स्टेक होल्डर्स हमको पिच करते हैं, तो हम मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स या बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि हम स्टेटस को डिस्टर्ब करने का ट्राई करते हैं, स्टेटस को चेंज करने का ट्राई करते हैं. अभी इसमें दो चीजें, एक तो ये सब करने के लिए बहुत ज्यादा टाइम लगता है और बहुत ज्यादा एनर्जी भी लगता है. स्टेटस को मतलब जो स्थिति है अभी वैसे
जो नॉर्मल कंसिडर किया था, यस नहीं,
तो इसको टाइम बहुत लगता है सब फॉलो अप करने के लिए. इतने सारे लोग, मतलब जैसे सोल्यूशंस हैं हमारे, अगर सिंपल प्रोडक्ट बनाना हो तो ये नहीं होगा, बट जिस तरीके के सोल्यूशंस की हम बात कर रहे हैं तो दो चीजें हैं. तो ये टाइम और एनर्जी कैसे मैनेज होता है और दूसरा लोगों को कन्विंस कैसे किया जाता है इसमें.
Why do you want to convince? तो मैं क्यों convince?
डिसीजन मेकर्स तो वो है ना जिन.
So if we have done a proper thorough process of making the product, जहाँ पे हमने स्टार्टिंग से एंड तक we have figured out कि हम कुछ वैल्यू बिल्ड कर रहे हैं, so that convincing is just about getting them listen to you. अगर value, if you're able to show a value, that convincing is not really a big part. तो ना HyperLab का सुना होगा, right? HyperLab, I'll just give an example. HyperLab में
एक बार बस हमारे लिस्टर्स को HyperLab क्या है ये.
HyperLab एक स्पोर्ट्स टेक स्टार्टअप है जो कोचेस को हेल्प करता है टू मेजर एथलीट का एबिलिटी एंड रिफ्लेक्सेस. ठीक है. अभी HyperLab का स्टार्टिंग का फेज है जहाँ पे प्रोडक्ट बन गया है, वैल्यू बन गया है, बेचने का है. राइट. अब नाउ व्हेन जब HyperLab का जो सीईओ है व्हेन ही गोस देयर, ही डज नॉट, एक बार वो वीडियो दिखाता है, वो एक बार एक्सप्लेन करता है, people are able to understand ये क्या वैल्यू हमारे लाइफ में ऐड करेगा. That is your first part to know automatically. यहाँ पे if you have done a good design process of building a product, यहाँ पे you have taken all the stakeholders का feedback beforehand, कि उनको क्या क्या nuances है, क्या क्या issues वो लोग face कर रहे हैं, whether they know that issues or not, you have taken that into account and built a product. then automatically your product is at a much better state. फिर आपके पास पैसे की बात आएगी क्योंकि तुम लोग मुझे कितने में बेचो उस पे there will always be a back and forth क्योंकि that is a business stuff that is not a value term that you're fighting on. Right. But your value if people are able to see कि ये मैं यूज करूंगा मेरी लाइफ ऐसे improve होगी तो automatically everything is sorted. That is the first. But we won't do that lot of times. Yeah. Lot of times what we do is कि हमें आइडिया लगता है कि हमें ये कुछ बनाना है हम बनाते हैं और फिर हम बेचने का ट्राई करते हैं without considering what the other person maybe not and hence we have to go into the convincing building value talking to them नहीं ये आप देखते हैं क्या है and that is not a design process that we have built now like a design process will keep the users or stakeholders at the center and then build things around it अगर अभी की बहुत सी स्टार्टअप्स भी तुम देखोगे they are building convenience they are not building utility
शार्क टैंक में भी ना ऐसे ही होता है कि कुछ लोग लेकर आते हैं जो बहुत यूजफुल प्रोडक्ट्स होते हैं ओह वाओ ये तो जरूरी है और कुछ लोग लाते हैं कि इससे क्या
so it is convenience versus utility and as designers we are always striving to build utility and if you're able to build utility and show the value of that utility you don't have to convince about any product product will do its own convincing once they see it फिर convince पैसे के लिए करना पड़ेगा कि कितना हम दोगे that's it
and just building on what he's saying again इसमें ना बड़ी ironies है when you start thinking about it हम constantly बात करते हैं user centered होने की system centered होने की human centered design होने की पूरे process में वो हम डाल भी देते हैं जब हम finally उस चीज को किसी को बेचने जाते हैं हम वो सब भूल जाते हैं I have seen designers go have a conversation with, for example, sports का example ले ले, तो उनको बताने लग जाएगा हमने ये डिजाइन प्रोसेस डाला ये टूल किया इस मेथड से अरे उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता तुमने मेथड से क्या था बनाया क्या है वो बोलो then making your narrative and your story user centered speaking value in the language that they understand is something that should be so obvious to us and yet we become so overwhelmed and full about the work that we put in कि हम वो same attributes को आगे जाके भूल जाते हैं and even this point about convenience right and utility I'll add another word there if you look at the world today right there's enough convenience that we've created from ordering haldi ka dabba in 15 minutes on my doorstep to ordering clothing and furniture that I can like everything is at the drop of a hand. So in that time, even if from an investor point of view, if you look at, they're constantly looking for what's new, what's going to change the game, what's going to create a pivot, and design can add value. So instead of the whole world designing for convenience, if you design for something different, opposite to that, utility could be one. Designing for consciousness, not like Headspace, right? You're saying I want to slow people down. Apps that are not locking your phone up. There's an app that's an opposite of Instagram where you put your everyday moments when it sends you a trigger, for example. Then suddenly you're talking about the game in another direction, and then it's like there's no competition there, and investors would be interested. And we can do that, but somehow we again go down to conforming to some reason.
So, like if given a choice, would you go for designing for a convenience? Because I think some projects might be coming to you that
so I'll give a very honest and candid answer. We do that. At the end of the day, we are not living a utopian life, or we are not living a hermit life. Probably that is a better word. We are in market. We are living where we have to pay the bills. We have to pay the rent. We have to pay salaries, everything. So even if a project comes for convenience, we do that. But at the same time, we do our best to come to a middle ground where we also explain our thought process to the client. This is a convenience project. How can we add some sort of systems to it or systems thinking so that it's not a convenience project? And we have done it multiple times.
I can give you one example of that. So we had a startup that had come to us with a nozzle technology where we could they want us to make a shower head for a nozzle which reduces 40% usage of water when you take a bath. So already pretty decent था, लेकिन उनको चाहिए था खूब aspirational, सुंदर और ऐसा product बनाना है. we could have stopped there. We could have made something fantastic for them. They're already doing pretty decent work. यहाँ पे तो convenience का fight भी नहीं है.
हाँ.
And yet, we were like, what more? What extra mile can we go as a studio on that project? And we went to the extent of designing the entire hose mounting system with simple mechanics where every time you wanted the shower head to give you a head bath, like per se, the pace of the water is different. It's much higher versus when you are hand holding it, because in hand holding you have one body part.
Right.
Nobody asked us to do that, right?
Yeah.
There was somebody who came to us to design a Wi-Fi router. We routed to बहुत ज़्यादा convenience वाली चीज़ है, right? We could have stopped at designing a pretty one. But you're like, how can I go further? Routers are these ugly things that are in the house serving their purpose. And very poor communication of whether it's working well or not working well. Could we play with light? Could we play with the way that light manifests even around the region where the router is put, for people to be able to more efficiently use their own router? So you built for convenience, but you've gone one extra mile. And I think that going an extra mile is always a choice we have as designers. People, interestingly, hire us so we can go the extra mile. They don't hire us to do what they already want.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, going back to once you're able to talk to them, you'll always be able to find a middle ground.
Because you have positioned yourself in a way that
Yeah.
they expect you to go extra mile,
Yeah.
and they're ready to pay for that price of maybe
Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but for us it's a non-negotiable to go the extra mile. So in some cases we also work harder, push extra hours, because we know that whatever we put out, we don't want it to be mediocre.
Yeah.
And that's a benchmark we've set for ourselves. That's not a benchmark that they're at that moment hiring us for, but we know that in the long term it will add.
ये इसी रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन है, ये थोड़ा सा टॉपिक से हटके है, लेकिन अभी ये जो डिजाइन प्रोसेस है, ये सब चीजों के बारे में बात की हमने, ये बहुत सारे डिजाइनर जो है ये यही सीखते हैं, लेकिन जब वो मार्केट में जाते हैं और जब खुद के सर्विसेज बेचने का ट्राई करते हैं तो उनको पता नहीं होता कैसे सर्विसेज देनी है और उसको प्राइस कैसे करना है. तो अब क्योंकि ये तो ऐसा कुछ टेंजिबल चीज नहीं है जो हम उनको दे रहे हैं, तो इसका एक तो वैल्यू कैसे मेजर किया जाता है इन टर्म्स ऑफ मॉनिटरी?
डिजाइन का एक प्रिंसिपल क्या है? डिजाइन में एक चीज क्या है जो हम करते हैं डिजाइन में जो और लोग नहीं करते? मास्किंग, जिसमें हम बड़ी प्राइड लेते हैं
चीजों को सुंदर बनाना.
करेक्ट, वो है. एंड ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर मेनी थिंग्स, आई एम नॉट पुटिंग यू ऑन द स्पॉट से एक बना, बट आई थिंक एक बहुत फंडामेंटल है व्हिच इज आइटरेट.
यस.
तो वो बिजनेस में क्यों भूल जाते हैं यार?
वो भी दूसरे लोग भी करते हैं ना, कोई भी स्टार्टअप, कोई भी बिजनेस, सब
ठीक है, चल उसको डिजाइन एक्सक्लूसिव भी नहीं बनाते, पर डिजाइन का डीएनए तो है. अगर डीएनए है तो तुमको देयर इज नो वन राइट आंसर ऑफ व्हाट इज गोना बी द प्राइस ऑफ समथिंग व्हेन यू गो इन द वर्ल्ड.
राइट.
व्हेन वी आल्सो स्टार्टेड द फर्स्ट फ्यू प्रोजेक्ट्स वी हैड नो पोर्टफोलियो अदर देन इंडिविजुअल वन, राइट? तो कोई उनकी पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सोचो क्यों देगा तुमको बिजनेस? तो उसमें trying every possible strategy of telling, like there was a small family owned business of rose water. They said आपको branding चाहिए, आपके पास limited पैसा है because family owned business है, कोई बात नहीं, you give us this project, whatever, like in that time we negotiated a very very small amount now that I compare it to back then.
Yeah.
But we did it because एक project तो चाहिए ना,
right.
Yeah.
We tried at one number. Somewhere else we realized when we and we've also like all of us grown over time to realize कि gauge कैसे करना है, pitch कैसे करना है, value क्या है, but that's as basic to the design process, which is iterate, reflect, execute.
And actually, it's not even like limited to the studio. Being a freelancer also, 4 साल मैंने freelance किया है, तो मैंने first year से जब मैं पैसे ले रही थी, और जब मैं आप लेती हूँ तो बहुत फर्क है. And sometimes they also shifted according to the client. Like there are clients that really want to work with. तो मैं बोलूँगी ठीक है, तुम कम पैसे में दे दो, they want to work on your project.
Same. So वही principles है ना. तुम you're trying to study your user. When you study the user, then you try to give them a narrative that you can work for them. Then you're trying to pitch the value in a certain way, which is exactly how we convince people through design. वो कितने convince हो रहे हैं depend करता है उनकी urgency क्या है. In some clients, we do a lot of free work. One of our biggest awarded projects, which is the innovation quotient test, we did for the love of the project. It was a big project.
Even the Avesta project
is free.
It is pro bono.
Sorry, I should.
और हाँ, ये इसी चीज रिलेटेड जब क्लाइंट्स को पिच करते हैं तो बहुत सारा ग्राउंड वर्क पहले से ही हम कर देते हैं. वो करना पड़ता है जिसका पैसा तो नहीं मिलता है और इसका भरोसा भी नहीं होता है क्लाइंट कन्वर्ट होगा कि नहीं होगा.
वो एफिशिएंसी टाइम के साथ आ जाती है.
अच्छा
कि वो ग्राउंड वर्क कैसे करना है, या तो
इवन टेक एन एग्जांपल, जब तुम डिजाइन चालू बनाओगे,
हाँ
स्केचेस कितने अच्छे बन रहे हैं,
हाँ
पूरा एक दिन लाओ तो भी एक अच्छा स्केच नहीं बना।
हाँ
नाउ यू कैन मेक स्केचेस विदिन हाफ एन आवर, टीचर सुपर गुड। आई डिड प्रैक्टिस हार्ड वर्क,
कंसिस्टेंसी.
right.
Achha, coming to clients, I have another question. So there must be one of your client जिससे मतलब maybe he's not your client anymore, they are not your client anymore, but कुछ ऐसा प्रोजेक्ट आया होगा जो आपके core principle से मैच नहीं करता है. मतलब जैसे I'm a teetotaler, so I don't want to work with any alcohol brand, like I'm against it. So ऐसा कुछ आता है क्या कभी? यार इतना
okay, probably symptom maybe you can.
But that's also convenient. Like it's a legit product. Like there was no ethical conflict.
See, as well as we talk about sustainability, correct?
Right.
Oh, I know where this is going. We should have it.
Now, sulfur. तुमने जीपी में क्या किया था? जीपी नहीं,
Systems design
सिस्टम्स के भी पहले ये उनका बहुत पीसीपी है,
Right,
प्लास्टिक का
right.
प्रोडक्ट बनाया था,
हाँ प्लास्टिक का प्रोडक्ट बनाया था
सबने प्लास्टिक का प्रोडक्ट बनाया था।
हाँ बनाया था
फॉर यू तुमने पैकेजिंग वैकेजिंग करा है, क्यों करा? ताकि प्रोडक्ट आप बेच सके।
हाँ
वो प्रोडक्ट प्लास्टिक से बना होगा,
अह,
इंटरनल पैकेजिंग के अंदर तो कुछ ना कुछ तो प्लास्टिक का होगा।
मतलब मेरे में पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस बता रही हूँ,
हाँ,
मेरे में बहुत कम होता है.
कम होता है, फाइन, यू आर लकी, वन ऑफ द लकी पीपल, और यू आर
Maybe it's a choice.
choice.
Choice that I
ठीक है, but at the end whatever packaging you're doing, you're doing it to sell more product of that, correct?
Yeah.
Now if we talk about sustainability, that is completely opposite of it, right? Designing for plastics which allow you to sell more. Similarly, the packaging design you're doing so that there is more appeal to the product which allows you to sell more. Hence, we are automatically inherently violating our first principle of being sustainable.
Yeah.
So then there is no thought of that is the conscious effort that you should be knowing. Okay, this is what I am doing, and if I'm doing this, where do I draw a line for myself? Like you said, you have a conscious effort where you have products which are not plastic.
Yeah.
That is a really good conscious effort that you have taken for yourself, and it shows that you're aware about what you're doing.
Actually, it's more like how you guys do it. No, it's just like that. So if somebody's coming to me and they're like, okay, we're designing this Tika like box, I'll be like, okay, fine, maybe we can reduce the inner
Correct.
plastic by just introducing this small thing.
Discovery. See, it's a very simple principle. Nothing in this world has a probability of one.
Yeah.
So as designers, and it's good to be utopian. But if you really start very honestly gauging everything, like for example, this sustainability is a topic which both of us love to argue because I have a very like different passion for it. But what he's saying is also not untrue. I am running a business which is making things with plastic.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're making some of these decisions, I think brutal honesty to yourself for how much I'm a very, very sustainable person in all my choices, but am I 100% sustainable? No, I'm not. So there is no one answer to saying what kind of project is against our ethics or not. Some core values which will not negotiate on.
So sometimes the end of someone comes and says, मुझे एक company design करनी है, will definitely say no. Now if someone comes and says कि
then self defense के लिए design किया
Like imagine somebody says there's an attack product made for women to save them from rape at night. Then suddenly the context changes. Right? Like, will you say yes? Will you say no?
Yeah.
What role will human rights play in that conversation?
Right.
So nothing is actually that grey. Society बड़े conveniently conversations नहीं कर देती है.
और यहाँ पे जब हम सस्टेनेबिलिटी की बात करें तो शायद से वो एनवायरमेंट सेंट्रिक था
हाँ,
लेकिन वो जरूरी नहीं ना एनवायरमेंट सेंट्रिक
Correct.
सस्टेनेबिलिटी तो फिर प्रोडक्ट पे पूरा इकोनॉमिक है
Financial sustainability भी हो सकता है.
हाँ,
Yeah.
कुछ भी हो सकता है.
Absolutely.
And usually what we're taught is just environmental sustainability, which is just one aspect of it. Yeah, lot of things.
Yeah.
But I think as a student, especially when you start growing, कुछ ethos set करना जरूरी होता है so that all of us agree to some
Yes.
basic values.
Yeah.
They're not rigid like saying this is good and this is bad. We don't function on a black and white. That's a very naive way to be a designer.
ऐसा होता भी नहीं है रियल लाइफ में
Exactly. तो वो accept कर लो ना. So when we work with the grays, when you're too confused, for example, if you're bringing in a project, बहुत confusion है, open it up as a dialogue in the team. Listen to everyone's point of view and then go ahead and make a decision. So everyone also feels heard because at the end of the day, all 50 of us are running this company, right? So I think वो common ground बना लो. But you can't have guardrails that are so hard because again, that's against the principle of design. We are supposed to be fluid. Right? We're supposed to question everything. We're supposed to challenge the status quo of this is right and this is wrong.
Or like just adding to this thing only कि आप अगर किसी प्रोजेक्ट पे काम कर रहे हैं so there must be projects जो आपको लगता है okay these were the successful projects then there will be some projects जो आपको लगा कि oh ये तो मेरे unsuccessful या मुझे मजा नहीं आया करके so what are your criterias like to
और इसमें ये भी होता है कि स्टूडियो को लगता है कि ये प्रोजेक्ट सक्सेसफुल है बट क्लाइंट को नहीं लगता है वो और बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि स्टूडियो को लगता है कि यार ये प्रोजेक्ट मजा नहीं आया काम करके इसमें कुछ होने नहीं वाला लेकिन क्लाइंट बहुत खुश हो जाता है
You can talk about Thompson if you want.
Yeah, actually. I'll give us a very relatable example. All this is exactly like dating or having relationships in your life. तुम सबको sometimes खुश नहीं रख सकते. Right? If you're playing that game, you'll always be losing.
सबका खुद को तो खुश रखना है ना लेकिन.
तो हाँ, so again it comes down. So again, black and white नहीं. It's not like I can keep myself also happy all the time, right? I'm playing multiple roles. I'm playing the role of being a designer myself, and I have a responsibility for that. I'm playing the role of making sure that this entire team has the time and financial needs to be able to do this. I'm making sure that there's a certain value and communication of the studio that we're putting out. So I'm making sure of multiple things. So it's maybe black and white nahi hai. So in cases like that, I mean, at the end of the day, annual visit reflections karte hain, and we look back at our projects. If it's a healthy mixed bag, I think it's fine. You'll always have projects where sometimes the client's very happy, sometimes you're not very happy because either you felt you were pushed too much or you couldn't give it enough time or any other reason. And one very simple and very interesting case study we have actually is, I won't name that client, but it's a company which is one of the biggest media and publication houses in the country. Okay, one of the biggest. I mean, you'll all know them. And they would come to us when they were trying to pivot as a business and build a new vertical in edtech. Okay, and they had no background. They came to us because of a recommendation of another project we had done for a different client, and they had really liked the way of thinking, so they brought us in. We started doing design research for them, got some extraordinary insights, which are very counterintuitive to how edtech projects are run. They loved it. They asked us then say, "अच्छा UI भी बना दो." हमने UI भी बना दिया. Essentially manifest those insights in a visual. उनकी coding team आ गई. We started mentoring the coding team to execute the UI as well. And then in this entire process, the more it started going up the ladder of multiple people coming into the picture, the more bureaucratic it became in their team. कि वो क्या decision लेना है. Every time we would present it as the final design, it would be like नहीं तो वो वाला color नहीं, इसमें मजा नहीं आ रहा है, इसमें gradient डाल दो. ऐसे होना शुरू हो गया था. And the thing is, there was no disagreement in a way where we knew the value they were bringing, they knew the value we were bringing. और वो project ऐसे ही 1.5 साल हो गया चलते गया. To a point where we realized very honestly, and I think that honesty is what people appreciate vulnerability. We went and wrote to their head and said, it's been an extraordinary experience, but we feel that we're not the best team for you to take this from henceforth. We're very happy for you. We felt like they needed an in-house team. They couldn't have done it with an external studio. Right. So we're like, we'll help you. We helped hiring. We actually sat through interviews for a creative director, for UI roles with their HR. And we said, हम आपकी सब help करेंगे अगले 2 महीने. And then we'll hand over the pattern. We'll train them also. We'll show them everything we've done. और फिर आप करो. And it's a very counterintuitive business decision. But in that moment, we knew that's the right thing for us and them. And we didn't mince our words in it. सब सही हुआ उनकी उन्होंने एक टीम बना दी. We even helped them hire another design studio. We've done.
We have done it multiple times.
Yeah.
The thing is that like we get a lot of startups who want some design input.
Yeah.
And a lot of startups for a different journey.
Yeah.
As a firm, we know whether they really need design or not.
Yeah.
पैसा सब कुछ ही होता है. But what we usually say is that we ourselves take a back step. Saying, see, right now it does not make sense for you to invest money into design. Build your product, build your POC, build your MVP, the technical requirements so that you can get more customers for yourself. Yeah. Which those customers would not require design from your end. Yeah. They just require to see a working prototype or a working product. Yeah. Build that first. We are not needed right now. Probably once you build that, once you are slightly now on a onward journey where you feel like you have to just other logo, reach out to someone else, then come back to us. That does not make sense at that point. Why would I want to miss out on that money that is coming in? But for us, it is always happy. We don't feel like we are miserable because they also know that what value that we're giving is an honest feedback. Yes. We are not just after their money. We are just telling you not needed.
I think as designers, good intent will take always like
it goes back to again the beginning, right? Non-opening company should get you because collaboration is above competition. Same principle यहाँ पे भी employ कर रहे हैं चल रहा है. The story doesn't even end there. It's been about 2 years now since we first got in touch with them, and then we handed things over. We were out of touch. Every 3 to 4 months, we have their team reach out to us. Every 3 to 4 months. They call, one day they called, we were out, it's somewhere in East Asia for a project. And we get a call in the middle of the night and they're like, एक brochure बनाना है यार. And you know, sir is saying कि सिर्फ स्टूडियो कार्बन कर सकता है. Like, सिर्फ 2 पेज लिखने हैं यार, तुम हमें 8 घंटे दे दो अपने, literally. And we did that. 2 of us sat down, 8 घंटे लगाए, handed it over because we also appreciate, of course, the trust that they're putting in us. And stopped it there. Then they came back again 3 months later for something else. Like, हमको ना एक अभी pivot करना है into another aspect of education. तो हमारे लिए design research कर दो. And if you think of it from just transactionally, it doesn't make sense for them to come back to us, right? But there's something that was way beyond in terms of the value we're bringing. Like you said, intent. It surpasses everything. Yeah. And I think that's something we do very actively.
That is why most of the clients that come to us, intent always does not also do it. Like we have intent, we have skills. We make sure that we have the skills to fulfill their
the intent, yeah.
And with intent, it makes sure that they also feel satisfied. You also feel like, you can trust them. It does not matter what you do.
Yeah. But actually, I think it's like you have the skills, but then there are designers who have the skills and they will just give anything that they feel the company should, like company deserves. But, we considering people who would be like, okay, maybe you don't need to do this. Yeah. So just adding something from your end. So I have like a activity for you guys. Oh. Small, like not an activity, but like it's a fire like thing, just
rapid fire.
Rapid fire, yes. So if we are designing for India, there's a task that you have to design for India for the future of India, and there is like one product or one thing that you would add. So, I mean, what is the problem? Number one, problem, and number two, what is your vision? And then, what is the solution that you would give? So, problem, vision, and solution.
How many years future में वो आप देखेंगे?
We are living the future right now. That's my answer, and I'll give you the answer. India में one of the biggest assets of us as a country is we are one of the only surviving oldest civilizations in the world. कितने हजारों सालों का knowledge पड़ा हुआ है हमारे पास.
Right.
So one of the things that we wanted to explore was this idea कि अगर India के लिए और दुनिया के लिए problem solve करनी है, तो how can we go back in time to design for the future? Right? And that would be, the vision would be to go back in time, learn from it. There was a lot of holism back then. There was a lot of knowledge back then. Take that, bring it to the future. The problem in this case, let's say we are, like I said, we're living the future, we're trying to solve is sustainability. For example. How do we become a self-sufficient, not reliant on imports, localized material, creating a bridge between rural and urban economies, kind of business, which helps all stakeholders. Right. And the solution we've designed for it, like Highway Labs, we have done Say Labs, which is reinvention of everything. We work with farmers, dairy farmers, to understand all ways in which cow dung has ever been used as an interior product. Built on that, and now we're at a level where we have materials that can be 3D printed, that can be compression molded, that can be injection molded with cow dung. Wow. So you've gone into the past, taken it into the future, and helped the country completely relevant to its context for a problem that in multiple ways solves it. So I think that would be my bit.
Yours. It should not be like a project that you're working on right now, but you can be imaginative.
For me, it is very simple. It is probably be this evening if you ask anything. In India, we have the most awesome scientists in space sector. And usually it is not something that is shine light on. Like people don't really strive. Like if you haven't seen people wear dystopian t-shirts, you haven't seen people going on about dystopian. Like once we launch the taboo, but how do we make sure that is a sustainable thing for us in a design manner when people like aspire to be like, ये तो बनना ही है. Like now things are changing and how do we make sure that is a sustainable thing in a much more fiery way to the problem.
That's right.
Yeah. So another question. So जैसे लोगों को नहीं समझ आता है कि डिजाइन क्या है, मतलब आपके रिलेटिव्स को नहीं समझ आता होगा आप क्या कर रहे हो दुनिया में.
Yes.
Funny incident about ऐसे कुछ.
Well, I simply say we need products, hardware, medical, consumer technology. आप घड़ी पहनते हो, आप घर में फ्रिज है, आप घर में ओवन है, वो तो हम डिजाइन है.
आपको रिक्वेस्ट नहीं है कि ऐसे कुछ बना देना ये.
टाइम नहीं है. अभी टाइम नहीं है. What you occupied है, आप भेज दीजिए. We'll take it up in 2 months. 2 महीने में तो किसी सबका टाइम नहीं खत्म हो जाता है. So I usually have to say that when I know that the requirement that they have is not of design but of an engineering solution that they need.
लोगों को नहीं पता डिफरेंस इंजीनियरिंग का और डिजाइन माने लोगों को फैशन
Interior.
इसको तो जैसे मारवाड़ी है तो इसके ऊपर शादियों के लिए इसको ही बोल देते हैं कि ये इसका शादी का
बैकग्राउंड बना दे.
वो भी प्रो बोल
बनाया
पहले किया है, क्लोज रिलेटिव थे लेकिन अभी मत. मेरे को एक दो बार बैड एक्सपीरियंसेस रहा है कि भाई ये तो मच बहुत ज्यादा है दिमाग को. एक कुछ करो फिर ये चेंज करके दो, वो चेंज करके दो, ये नहीं लग रहा है, फूफा जी का नाम नहीं डाला और वगैरह.
एंड आप एक्चुअली ये भी है ना कि मतलब आई डोंट नो मैंने बाहर के लोगों से काम नहीं करा है बट यहाँ पे ना लोग बहुत ज्यादा इमोशन ड्रिवन है. जैसे वो गंदा सा मेरे डिजाइन बना देंगे खुद से बट इफ आई डिजाइनर सो दे विल बी लाइक नहीं वो तो ज्यादा सुंदर लग रहा है.
हमने जो बनाया वो
हमने
फूल नहीं डाले तुमने.
बट लाइक कैनवा इट इज एक्चुअली एम्पावरिंग पीपल टू डिजाइन देमसेल्व्स. तो वो भी है. आपके साथ हुआ है कुछ ऐसा?
Yeah. So one of the things that happened when I was, मेरे साथ थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस है. Both my parents were architects. तब लोगों को आर्किटेक्ट का मतलब मैं खुद आर्किटेक्चर बोलती थी दोनों. So nobody knew. So anyways they were like कुछ तो करता है ये परिवार. But once what happened in my village I was with one of my cousin grandfathers and he's like क्या करे तू. मैं कहा नहीं कुछ नहीं दादू बिजनेस ऐसे चला रही हूँ.
Where is your village?
I'm from Himachal.
Okay.
So this was one place in the district of Mandi. I come from a small place there. And they are like, अच्छा कितना कमा लेते हो? अभी very intrusive question. But I was like, ठीक है क्या ही है, ठीक है annual revenue इतना था. अच्छा अरे वो किराना वाला है ना वो नीचे 2 दफे छोड़ के वो इससे 3 गुना कमाता है. So that became a matter. So I think we don't explain
It happens with you also.
Yeah. But I see थोड़ा हमारी गलती भी है. As designers हमने इस पूरे idea को इतना abstract because it's many things. डिजाइन नाउन भी है, एडजेक्टिव भी है, वर्ब भी है, प्रोनाउन सब कुछ है. तो फिर दुनिया को अगर बेचने भी जाओगे तो क्या बेचोगे, राइट? सो इट्स अ लिटिल बिट ऑन अस एज वेल बट वी जस्ट लाइक वी गॉट टू डू व्हाट वी गॉट टू डू. किसी को नहीं समझ आता तो क्या कर सकते हैं. फैशन वाला हाँ फैशन है
necessary for just to explain everyone what we are doing.
yeah
It's okay. Like अगर कोई कंप्यूटर साइंस वाला इंजीनियर किसी को पूछेगा कि तुम क्या कर रहे हो, आई डोंट थिंक सो यू गो टू एआई एंड वन
करेक्ट गुड पॉइंट.
और क्योंकि ये इतना जनरल चीज है तो लोगों को लगता है उनको ऑलरेडी आता ही है. तो हम भी कर लेंगे.
ग्राफिक डिजाइन के साथ भी बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है. सबको लगता है उनको आता है. हाँ ग्राफिक का तो ये मतलब इट्स फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग.
बट ये कैनवा वाला जब सब कुछ तुम लोग बोल रहे हो, सी एआई विल चेंज डिजाइन.
Yeah.
But the point is, it will kill mediocrity. It cannot kill excellence. There are things that we bring. तो अगर लोगों को समझ आने लगे, it's good for us ना. अगर ये सब चीजों की वजह से लोगों को लगा हाँ मैं कर सकता हूँ, ठीक है, वो थोड़ा naturally पेंट ब्रश पे करते हैं versus now they're doing it, कुछ तो बेहतर ही बनाएंगे ना.
पता है क्या था? अभी उत्तरायण के टाइम पे एक मेरे ऑफिस के किसी ने एक डाली से जनरेट किया इमेज उत्तरायण इन इंडियन विलेज. मतलब इतना गंदा ग्राफिक बना कर दिया डाली ने, इतना गंदा ग्राफिक. सो आई वाज लाइक ओके फाइन. फिर मैंने देखा एक हमारे यू माइट बी नोइंग सुरेश इडियट. ही इज लाइक एन एनिमेटर. वो कौन से उनका
एक सॉर्ट
हाँ सुरेश यार
ही पोस्टेड अ ड्राइंग जिसमें ऐसे छोटे से घर है एंड देन दिस पर्सपेक्टिव में kites flying. And I was like, how can Dali imagine it? Dali can only copy it. Like
Dali has existing data to create.
but वो एक वही है ना कि विजन तो तब भी चाहिए ना, एआई को यूज करने में तो विजन चाहिए।
हाँ, जैसे आपने बोला मीडियोक्रिटी, या जो मीडियम लेवल काम है, जो
क्योंकि
डिजाइनर फायर
जिसका विजन नहीं है वो गंदे डिजाइन से भी satisfied है।
This is the difference to this things. Because now you have Dali, Midjourney, ChatGPT, all those things. There's a new profession coming, prompt engineering. Like what is the prompt that you give so that things look better?
Yeah.
That's a skill. That is also design thing. Whether you call it design or problem solving or whatever it is, but yeah.
यार ज्यादा लोगों को नहीं समझ आ रहा तो कोई बात नहीं।
हाँ ठीक है, मतलब जिसका टेस्ट है तो वो समझेगा। So last question for this session. अगर किसी को स्टूडियो कार्बन आना है, आप लोग के साथ काम करना है, so what do you look in them like?
या ये इसको थोड़ा सा बिल्डअप क्वेश्चन, सिंस अभी आप स्टूडियो चलाते हो तो आपको स्टूडियो के साइड का भी पर्सपेक्टिव पता है कि लोगों में क्या, मतलब क्लाइंट को क्या चाहिए और हमको एम्प्लॉय से क्या चाहिए। तो आप क्या देखते हो?
बिग क्वेश्चन वी बीन आस्किंग फॉर अ व्हाइल। कृष्णा, आपने तुमने क्या देखा?
क्या देख लिया?
देखो, स्किल तो गिवन है, दैट इज अ बेयर मिनिमम। हम जिस लेवल ऑफ एक्सीलेंस पे चीजों को एग्जीक्यूट करते हैं, आवर वर्क शोज दैट। So I think that's not. Then I think everyone looks at that. Nobody looks for bad skills. So I think that's a given. The other thing we look for very closely, and we say this word a lot in the studio, is an attitude. Now, what does that attitude mean? I think there's a couple of layers to that. We're not looking for people who need instructions. We're looking for people who are self-driven. It's an open space. Everyone has the freedom to own, execute, and lead projects that they want. As long as it's in the best interest of the client and the studio, you have that freedom. But for that, you have to have an innate desire to want to excel. So that attitude towards constantly being like, what next? Like NID is very familiar with this, but that one word of machate hain. Every project has to have one element of machate hain. Just because you have a process to optimize branding doesn't mean we do the same thing each time, right? So
ग्रोथ माइंडसेट में बोलते हैं।
क्या बोलते हैं?
ग्रोथ माइंडसेट।
Growth mindset बोलते हैं, हाँ, that's a good term to use.
Yeah, but like it has like often happened with me, like when you guys are working like 9 people.
Yeah.
So sometimes people come from an expectation that you like 9 of you will be working on like something. So उनको ऐसा लगता है कि okay, maybe we are giving it in the name of Itika. So
that doesn't happen at all. It's never done. And in fact, the fact that there were 9 of us who started it, वो कभी रहा ही नहीं.
हाँ, वही सब काफी लोग हैं। बट कई बार ऐसा होता है ना कि स्टूडियो कार्बन का एक लेवल है, एक क्वालिटी है जो आपको मेंटेन करना है। सो हाउ डू यू ट्रस्ट न्यू पीपल हु जॉइन यू?
क्योंकि आपका बेंचमार्क तो आप 9 लोग हैं।
People are amazing when you give them a word.
It's
too reflective. Oh yeah, it's really we didn't bring that up till now. So simple term we tell everyone is to do, reflect and do. That's the motto of anything, from bringing a new project in the studio to figuring out the HR policy of the studio to figuring out how do we plan things in the studio and maintain them to designing.
तो ये सब लोगों के इंटरव्यू से या पोर्टफोलियो से कैसे समझ में आता है?
So quality of life जो नील कह रहा था, जो हमने प्रोजेक्ट शुरू में किया था, there were a lot of principles, fundamental things about how do you analyze people's subjective qualities, their ability to adapt, their ability to be resilient, their ability and attitude towards, going even beyond empathy, going to absolute love. All of those things, we had done a lot of experiments and ideas on how do you gauge that in people. So some of that is how we design our interviews as well. And it again goes back to do reflect. So the first hire we had to, now the 50th that we've had, there's been a lot of transformation there. But I think that attitude is something that we can't engrave. So we look for that attitude. We look for an attitude where people are very comfortable with themselves to take and give feedback. So as radically transparent as we can be from everything of, like salary values or why certain decisions are being made or why we are doing this project or not doing that project, isn't as open a conversation as people would like it to be. So I think it's like the battles now between all of us from the 9 of us. So if there are people who are willing to do that, yes. And if somebody is looking for a job, great. But over here, we're trying to build the future of design.
Yeah.
And if you're fired up by that, then this is the right place for you. If you're not fired up by that, absolutely fine. But then we may not be the best fit. If you want to create and India born, this complete shifting the power center of design to everything that we're now bringing to the world, which has not been done before, then Studio Carbon is a place for you, and we're here to see you grow and help you grow. I think that's our job now. We're not even having to do things ourselves.
Yeah.
Neel, आपका take इस पे.
मेरा take. For me personally, there are two things. One is the ownership, like whatever you're doing, you have, if you showcase, there are things that you can see once people are in the studio. So it is okay. They should be here. Like, we feel there is a commercial that is there.
Yeah.
We have and we continue seeing that there is a commercial. We are more than happy with it. And second is more about how well you take feedback or how defensive do you get.
Yeah.
Um, because if you are able to take good feedback and if you're able to implement it with using your own brains,
How do you take defense?
when you
नहीं ये थोड़ा अरेंज मैरिज जैसा है ना मतलब एक इंटरव्यू में डिसाइड करना लाइफ साथ
हाँ सो इसीलिए वो भी हमारे लिए रिफ्लेक्ट हुआ कि अगर हम एक इंटरव्यू रखे या नींद रखे
गलत हो we've made mistakes.
we have made many mistakes like hiring we have made but
blunders also, but
Yeah,
the beauty is
okay.
that all of them are still carbons. Like there's no, it was very amicable both ways because they understood why they were being let go, and we understood okay what can we do differently to make decisions, and we're constantly iterating that also. So yeah, we say once a carbon, always a carbon. So once you're a part of that universe,
So for us, it is very simple. We don't. So let's start starting. कि यहाँ कोई apply कर रहा है. We know how projects have been worked out. We were students ourselves. We are not too far from the learning journey. We know how things. So if they are being really honest about how things have happened, we love that. Like we know the honesty of how they are presenting about how they are feeling about it, how they talk about it. It showcases the passion that they have in the work that they are presenting. Second is when they receive a feedback on the work that they are passionate about, you can see whether they are being defensive or whether they are reciprocative of the feedback.
Right.
तो अभी लोग क्या करेंगे वैसे एक्टिंग करेंगे कि वो
हम for example in one interview we asked the other person to say do you believe or don't believe in flat earth theory. They said of course I don't believe the earth is round. Like, no, now you believe in flat earth theory. Abhi convince us. And just the comfort level of that person to be able to shed whatever baggage that they carry about this is right and this is wrong says a lot to us about how defensive can they get when things get that personal. So, like I said, it comes down to again designing these interactions to find the right.
Even for us, we are still learning. We have a client who is like silent. Who is, if you just see their JDs, you see the amount of time that that person has put in to just build a job description.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is the level that they put in to think. And we feel like, okay, हमारा नया benchmark set हुआ है, हमें इतना तो कुछ करना ही पड़ेगा नया लेने में. And then what else can you do to बचाया उसके बाद. So learning, every day is learning.
To reflect, do it.
Yeah. So I have a question for three of you now.
ये लास्ट क्वेश्चन बोला था तुमने.
हो गया है क्या फर्क पड़ता है सुन लिए. So one line of you working with her, like what is your experience like?
Okay.
Expressing in one line. You also do it for both of them. So and you also.
So we do it for each. I do it for both of them.
Yeah.
So we do it for two.
With Itika, it has always been a nice rubber band. Like we're always having a good tension to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
So I think that is
Yeah.
that is. With Krishna, it hasn't always been like a humble touch base. Like I am going to see सब कुछ सही है कि नहीं है, बस हाँ सही है चलेगा. I'm happy. That is why I want to hear, and I do see the work that is happening. So I don't have to be worried about it. कि कहाँ पे क्या है कैसे है. That is all I need to know. कि how things are moving.
For me, Neil's my alter ego. I think everything that I'm not, he is, and vice versa. So, like he said, it's very different when you difficult when you come from opposite views, but when you realize that together you can make the whole, it's very powerful. So,
Yeah.
I think just reminding myself that is my relationship with him. With Krishna, wow, in one line, I think he's. What is maybe that one line? he's just at it. Whatever you give him. I mean, there are two, because I also, because of living in Netherlands, there are just two projects we sort of collaborated on. And once it's handed over to him, there is nothing from how, what, why that I have to even talk to him about before things start coming back. And client call we had yesterday is an example of that. So he's just as a designer always active, and I think we're very grateful to have him as a company for choosing us.
मेरे लिए मैं नील से स्टार्ट करता हूँ। नील से मेरा ज़्यादा इंटरेक्शन नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन जितना भी हुआ है उसमें मेरे को एक बात समझ में आती है कि एक टर्म होता है ना, नो बुलशिट, टू द पॉइंट, स्ट्रेट टू द पॉइंट। तो वो क्वालिटी बहुत ही सही चीज़ है, जहाँ पे कम टाइम में अच्छे से फीडबैक मिल जाता है। तो दैट इज़ वेरी नाइस थिंग। और इतिका के साथ में तो शी हैज़ ऑलवेज बीन अ वेरी वंडरफुल मेंटर। तो जब भी प्रोजेक्ट का डायरेक्शन या विजन सेट करना होता है, तो वहीं पे आई थिंक मतलब मेंटर का काम या प्रोजेक्ट का जो लीड है, जो स्पॉन्सर है प्रोजेक्ट का, उसका काम ऐसा ही होता है कि चेस में प्रॉपर प्लेसमेंट कर दो आप चीज़ों की, और बाद में वॉर अपने आप हो जाता है। तो वो काम आप बहुत अच्छे से करते हो। नाइस।
So what at work, how do you manage your life, like work-life balance?
What a question to end
ओ,
this on.
ये इसमें इसी को फॉलो अप, डिजाइन ऐसी चीज है जो कि पैशन ड्रिवन है पूरा। तो हमको पता नहीं होता डिजाइन उसको स्टॉप कब करना है और क्या।
We were not the right people to
Yeah,
ask that.
not
I
at
think
all.
we should ask that question to other governments.
But I would like you guys to question for your own self for what does work-life balance even mean, and why is work not a part of life? ये कहाँ से differentiation आता है? I really want us to.
No, so when you're spending time with your family, do you think about design? Obviously, you would be thinking about design.
Design is not a profession; it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's an attitude you live with. If I'm trained to observe, then anything and everything that I do, from the way I'm putting ingredients in the food I'm cooking for my family, to the way I'm setting their table or buying a gift for them, or the way I'm listening to things they have to say about how their day went, is design.
No, but again, like obviously we can't stop our brain. But how about the practices that you do? So, for example, maybe you're not opening your laptop after a certain point of time.
So I think the difference would be
हाँ, थोड़ा सा कॉन्टेक्स्ट का डिफरेंस है, शायद से आप आर्किटेक्चर फैमिली से हो तो इसलिए चीजें अलग है। लेकिन बहुत बार ऐसा होता है, जैसे मेरी फैमिली है या तुम लोगों की फैमिली है, तो वहाँ पे ऐसा होता है कि क्योंकि डिजाइन बैकग्राउंड से नहीं है, तो वो ये सब चीजों को उस एंगल से नहीं देखते रहते हैं। तो तब थोड़ा सा शायद से कभी लगता है कि ब्रेन
Even it happens with us also. So when we are spending time together, I just can't tolerate.
So I've seen two architects in my house talk to each other, so I think I know what you guys are meaning.
You don't detect. Maybe people around you, they won't detect.
Because they don't have a context.
I detect.
Yeah.
So like
So get more worked up like that.
Yeah.
I think, see, but like Neel said, I think we're the right people to answer this, because as entrepreneurs, you have to consciously shut down portions, right? When you're constantly thinking about paisa kahan se aayega, business चलाना है, ये sales call करना है, यहाँ पे ये legal documents sign करना है, यहाँ पे ये conflict आ चुका है, उसको resolve करना है. That is as running a business. There you need to pause. That can create a lot of anxiety. Then you need to pause for your own self.
Yeah.
But I think we've embodied design too much to say that we switch it off. And I don't even see a problem with that. Like, I'm able to add value to all aspects of my life because I live design, because it's a lifestyle for me. And it's the same for him as well. So I don't think it's a switch off for us, but as an entrepreneur it is. So like you said, I will keep my laptop shut. We've finally reached a stage where we're like, okay, like, sometimes when we're taking holidays, this time we just hand it over to somebody else. And now we're trying to create a system where none of us is irreplaceable in a way where even in my absence, things are running on their own. Then you build a good business.
Yeah, because I think in an idea also, I think people just struggle a lot to find that.
Yeah, I think there's also a creativity myth, which I've seen in NID as well. Okay, ये idea की moments of spark and and all. It's a massive creativity happens with discipline. Yeah. I'm sorry. I mean, that's iteration is the easiest example of that. You try 200 logos. There is no way that the latter 100 is not magnificent in its way, right? So I feel like in NID, and again, it's a cultural thing. I think just school chalta hai, right? We start saying कि हाँ जो ज़्यादा late रुक रहे हैं या ये करने को better है.
So I'm kind of a person who will work every day for 1 hour.
Yeah.
I won't be like waking up the whole night.
But it comes down to, so one of our professors in NID had done this exercise with us, where he's like, "ठीक है, तुम कितने दिन कितने बजे रहते हो studio में?" We're like 16 घंटा. And then he started breaking down those 16 hours. We effectively were working for 4 hours.
Yeah.
In those 16. So it's not about shutting down. It's about the discipline of you constantly being at it versus, because हमारा इतना abstract thinking होता है ना, कई बार it's very easy to get into just ज्ञान giving sessions. And which I guess is also fine once in a while. But to know that it's a ज्ञान giving session and not really design is very important. So I feel like that each of us can draw our own boundaries towards that. Like I used to not stay up very late until I really was doing a project.
Yeah.
I would go back and I would still probably sleep late, but on my own learning something or doing something. So I think we have to set our boundaries and again be brutally honest with कि साला मैं time spend कहाँ गई? Do I think I'm being very creative and edgy, or do I'm adding value as a designer to myself?
Yeah, because I think some people just time.
Time. Yes.
Okay, cool. Fine. So thank you so much for listening. If you have been listening till this time, and we are like really grateful, and I think this conversation has been life changing for me as well. And definitely, I will take the mentorship if I am planning to build a studio. But I think this might be helpful for you guys also, and this inspires you to pursue design with a new vision, with a new perspective that you might have not thought of. And stay tuned. We will try to bring such more people who will give you something new every time. And thank you so much, Itika and Neel. Cool. Thank you.
Bye.